My neighbor kept hosting loud parties all night, ignoring my complaints, saying, "This neighborhood needs more fun anyway." The next morning, he woke up to a tow truck hauling away his car because he had parked in my legally owned space. He screamed, but I just smiled and said, "This neighborhood needs more peace anyway." I live in a quiet neighborhood in Seattle, Washington. It's a peaceful area, mostly filled with families and retirees. The kind of place where everyone knows each other and disturbances are rare. That was until a new neighbor, Jake, moved in next door. Jake was in his early 30s, always seemed to have friends over, and had a penchant for hosting loud parties that lasted all night. The first party happened on a Friday night. The music was blaring, people were laughing and shouting, and cars lined the street. I tried to ignore it, thinking it was a one-time event. But then it happened again the next night and the next weekend. It became a regular occurrence. After a particularly sleepless night, I decided to talk to Jake. I knocked on his door the next afternoon. He answered with a grin, holding a beer. "Hey, neighbor. What's up?" "Jake, I wanted to talk about the parties. They're really loud and go on all night. It's hard for me and others to get any sleep." He laughed and clapped me on the shoulder. "Come on, man. This neighborhood needs more fun anyway. Loosen up a bit." I was taken aback by his dismissive attitude. I tried to reason with him, but he brushed me off and closed the door. Frustrated, I started documenting the disturbances. I recorded videos of the noise levels, took note of the dates and times, and even spoke to other neighbors who were equally disturbed. We decided to file a complaint with the local authorities. One evening, as I returned home from work, I found Jake's car parked in my driveway. Fuming, I knocked on his door. "Jake, you're parked in my driveway. Can you move your car?" He smirked. "It's just for a bit. Don't be so uptight." That was the last straw. I called a towing company and had his car removed from my property. When Jake realized his car was gone, he was livid. "Where's my car?" he shouted. I looked at him calmly. "Towed. You parked in my driveway without permission." He yelled and cursed, but I stood my ground. "This neighborhood needs more peace anyway," I said before walking back into my house. After that incident, the parties stopped. Jake seemed to have gotten the message. The neighborhood returned to its peaceful state, and I finally got the restful nights I had been missing. A week passed. It was quiet. Too quiet, actually. No more loud music, no shouting, no strangers stumbling out of Jake's house at 3 a.m. For the first time in months, I slept with the windows open. But then something weird happened. I walked outside one morning and found my trash can tipped over, garbage spilled across the sidewalk. It wasn't windy the night before. At first, I thought maybe a raccoon got into it, but then I noticed something odd. None of my neighbors' bins were touched. Just mine. I picked up the mess, a bit uneasy, but tried not to overthink it. The next morning, it happened again. This time, my trash wasn't just knocked over, it was gone. The entire bin. Vanished. I walked around the block, checked behind fences, even asked the neighbors. Nobody saw anything. I bought a new trash bin and put it out like normal the next week. That night, I stayed up. Around 1 a.m., I heard a faint scraping sound outside. I peeked through the blinds and saw someone dragging my trash can down the street. It was Jake. He was barefoot, shirtless, and laughing to himself like it was the funniest thing in the world. I didn't confront him then. I wanted proof. So the next night, I set up a camera facing my driveway. Sure enough, Jake showed up again, this time with a friend. They took my trash can, opened my mailbox, and even spit on my porch. It was all caught on video. I reported it to the local police. They gave him a warning. That only made things worse. 2 nights later, my car tires were slashed. I came out to head to work and saw my sedan leaning awkwardly to one side. All 4 tires were completely flat. A note was stuck to my windshield. It just said, "Less peace now, huh?" That was it. I knew Jake was escalating. I had to be smart. I filed a formal police report and made copies of the footage. I also bought more cameras, one facing my backyard, one over my door, and another hidden in a bush facing the street. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was ready. Then things took a weird turn. A realtor's sign popped up in Jake's yard one morning. "For sale." I was confused. Did he know he was in trouble? Was he running? But the day after the sign went up, Jake hosted one last party. It was louder than ever, like he was trying to send a message. The bass shook my windows. The yelling went until 4 a.m. My cameras recorded everything. Cars blocking driveways. Someone vomiting on a neighbor's lawn. Someone else urinating on my garage door. The next morning, I took the footage and sent it to the realtor. I also sent a copy to the neighborhood's HOA. The reaction was immediate. Within 48 hours, the realtor pulled the listing, saying the seller was not in compliance with community regulations. I later learned the HOA issued Jake a massive fine for violating noise ordinances and property damage rules. Jake came to my door that afternoon. This time, he didn't knock. He pounded. I opened it slowly, phone in hand, camera already rolling. "You think you're gonna scare me out of this neighborhood?" he shouted, face red, spit flying. "You think you're some kind of hero?" "No," I said calmly. "Just someone who likes to sleep." He stormed off. 2 days later, I got a notice on my windshield again. This time it wasn't from Jake. It was a city citation for abandoned vehicles. Turns out someone had called in fake reports saying my car had been sitting without moving for weeks. Same with 2 other neighbors who had complained about Jake. I knew exactly what this was. Retaliation. But Jake made one mistake. He forgot I had cameras. Again. The footage showed him on the phone across the street, pointing at our cars, walking back and forth like he was guiding whoever he was talking to. I submitted everything, again, to the police, the HOA, and even the city parking authority. I also posted it anonymously online on a local Reddit thread for Seattle neighborhood issues. And that's when things really blew up. Turns out, Jake wasn't just annoying to us, he had pulled the same garbage in his previous neighborhood in Bellevue. Someone linked to an old Facebook group where people shared stories of his constant parties, car pranks, and even vandalism. He had a pattern. The neighborhood turned on him. People he didn't even know started showing up to his parties, strangers who found the Reddit post and decided to give Jake a taste of his own medicine. But I stayed quiet. I kept recording. I stayed legal. I wanted him out, but I wasn't going to stoop to his level. At least, not yet. More happened after that. A lot more. 2 nights after the Reddit thread exploded, things took another weird turn. I came home from work and noticed something off about my backyard gate. It was slightly open. I always keep it latched, habit from years of owning a curious dog. When I stepped into the yard, I saw footprints in the dirt. Not mine. Fresh ones. Too big for a raccoon or a stray cat. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was broken. But someone had definitely been there. I checked the backyard cam. Sure enough, Jake again. He'd wandered into my yard around 2:30 a.m., drunk and stumbling. He didn't do anything, just looked around, then left. Like he was checking something. I sent it to the cops. Again. And they sent another warning. But it was clear they weren't going to do anything unless he caused direct harm. Trespassing at night wasn't enough. And Jake knew it. The next morning, I woke up to a strong chemical smell in my front yard. Someone had poured bleach all over the lawn, big patchy burns across the grass. My security footage showed a hooded figure, face down, walking quickly. Couldn't see much, but body shape? Same as Jake. I reported it. Again. And again. Nothing happened. They said the footage wasn't clear enough. No face, no concrete ID. That night, I heard a sound around 1 a.m. Like scraping, slow and deliberate. I stayed quiet and looked at the live feed from my front porch cam. And there he was, Jake, scratching something into my front door with a key or a nail. I burst out of the house with my phone filming, yelling. He ran, but not fast enough. I got his full face on camera. Full body. Tool in hand. My door had deep gouges across it, and he'd written one word. Snitch. This time, cops had no choice. They filed charges. Property damage. Trespassing. Harassment. But here's the thing, he still wasn't arrested. Just a court summons. His court date was set for 6 weeks later. And in those 6 weeks, things didn't calm down. They got worse. He started using his house like a weapon. Blasting sirens and static instead of music. Putting strobe lights in his windows at night. One neighbor's kid had a seizure because of it. Another elderly neighbor fell on her porch trying to get a look at what was going on. Everyone filed complaints. Everyone. But Jake didn't care. Until a car showed up. Black SUV, no plates. Parked outside his house for hours. The next night, another SUV. Different color. Still no plates. Then drones. 3 of them, hovering over Jake's backyard for over 15 minutes, flashing lights into his windows. It wasn't me. I swear. But I watched it all from my camera feed. Jake came outside, shirtless and panicking, trying to throw rocks at them. Screaming. One of the drones dropped something, looked like a glitter bomb or maybe just a bag of dog crap. I couldn't tell. But whatever it was, it sent Jake over the edge. He disappeared for 3 days after that. Then came back and started parking his car across multiple driveways. Not just mine. Everybody's. He wasn't even pretending to hide anymore. One morning, a neighbor found their hose running full blast into their open basement window. Basement flooded. Thousands of dollars in damage. No proof it was Jake, but we all knew. We had a neighborhood meeting. Everyone who lived within 2 blocks showed up. We decided to file a civil suit. All of us. A coordinated action. We started a fund, pooled resources, and got a lawyer. A real one. Someone with experience in dealing with nuisance neighbors and serial harassers. Jake must have found out. Because 3 days after that meeting, I came outside and found my tires slashed again. But not just mine. 5 other cars on the block. All of us who signed the group lawsuit. Same tool. Same slashes. All on the passenger side. Deliberate. Police opened a full investigation, finally. Multiple acts of property damage. Multiple witnesses. Jake was now under real scrutiny. But just as we thought it might be coming to an end, he put up cameras around his own house. Not normal ones. Big, industrial-looking. Motion-activated speakers, too. And a massive banner on his porch that said, "You're all being watched." That was the night someone egged his house. Again, wasn't me. He ran out screaming into the street, in nothing but boxers, waving a flashlight like a lunatic. Cops were called. Again. This time by him. But they didn't care. He was alone. Completely. Then came the fire. One of his trash cans caught on fire in the middle of the night. Small blaze. Probably from the fireworks he kept trying to set off at 2 a.m. Fire department came and put it out fast, but the smoke damage hit the side of his house and peeled a chunk of paint off. He tried to blame me. Didn't work. My camera showed him tossing a lit cigarette into the can right before it flared up. City fined him. Fire code violation. Improper disposal of flammable waste. Now he was fuming. Literally and emotionally. And yet, he was still in that house. Still lurking. Still planning something. But so was I. Because the next move, it wasn't going to be just a complaint. It was going to be something he'd never forget. Want to hear what happened after that? About 2 weeks after the fire incident, the neighborhood had changed. It wasn't just the silence after the sirens, or the fact that Jake's parties had completely stopped. It was the tension that hung like fog. Everyone was watching everyone. Windows that were usually closed stayed cracked. Porch lights stayed on all night. Nobody trusted Jake anymore. And somehow, he seemed to thrive on it. But he was unraveling. He looked thinner. Eyes darker. His once smug walk now looked more like pacing. Paranoia oozed out of him. One night, he was seen circling his own house 3 times with a flashlight and a baseball bat, yelling, "I know you're out here," into the darkness. And then, it happened. It was a Saturday. Sunny, which was rare in Seattle that time of year. The neighborhood decided to throw a community yard sale in the local park 3 blocks down. Everyone brought their stuff. Even folks I hadn't seen in months were out with tables and old boxes. I showed up too, mostly to support the others, but also to get my mind off Jake. And that's when I saw him. Jake. Not just walking through, but actually setting up a table. Trying to blend in, wearing sunglasses and a Seahawks hoodie. His table was full of junk, random cords, scratched DVDs, an old popcorn machine. It didn't go over well. One of the older neighbors, Mr. Donnelly, a Vietnam vet in his 70s, walked straight up to him and said, "You think this is a joke? After everything?" Jake ignored him. Another neighbor shouted from across the grass, "Go home, Jake. You're not welcome here." I expected him to leave. He didn't. Instead, he stood up on his folding chair and yelled, "Oh, so now I'm the bad guy? You think I'm the only one with secrets around here?" That made people stop. Turn. He pointed at my table. "You want the truth? This guy? Mr. Cameras and Notes? He's the reason I lost my job. He posted my name online. His little Reddit stunt? Got picked up by my boss." My stomach dropped. It was true. I hadn't known my Reddit post would gain that much traction. But someone had linked it to his real name. I didn't do it myself, but I didn't stop it either. Jake had lost his job at a tech startup downtown. Quietly. I'd only found out because another neighbor mentioned it. He didn't just mess with me. He ruined my life. Jake's voice cracked. Loud. Everyone could hear. I get it, I was a jerk. But now I can't pay my mortgage. My fiancé left. You think I deserve to lose everything? The air turned heavy. No one spoke. Then he pointed directly at me again. Say something. You wanted peace, right? You got it. At what cost? I stepped forward. I never wanted to ruin your life. I just wanted you to stop, I said. My voice shook more than I expected. You made it impossible to sleep. You vandalized homes. You slashed tires. You poured bleach on my lawn. You walked into my backyard. What was I supposed to do? You should have talked to me, Jake snapped. I did. That shut him up. The silence after that was awful. It wasn't victory. It wasn't justice. It was just hollow. Jake stormed off. Left everything on the table. Didn't even fold the chair. In the following days, the neighborhood felt fractured. Some people avoided me. Others nodded quietly, like they didn't know what to say. Then Mrs. Patel, who lived across the street and barely ever spoke to anyone, knocked on my door with a small tin of cookies. I'm sorry you had to carry all of this alone, she said. We should have done more. Sooner. I didn't know what to say. Jake moved out a week later. No warning, no farewell. A moving truck came at dawn, and by sunset, he was gone. The house sat empty for a while. Grass grew. A foreclosure sign eventually went up. I never found out where he went. Some nights, I still check my cameras out of habit. The neighbors are friendlier now. There's a block watch group. We share updates, have a chat thread. But there's still a scar over the whole thing. No one says Jake's name. As for me, I'm not proud of everything. I didn't want to destroy someone's life. But I also didn't sign up to be his target. Maybe I could have handled it better. Maybe I should have done something differently. But when you're being slowly pushed to the edge, you stop thinking clearly. You just want it to stop. I learned that silence isn't always peace. And sometimes, standing up for yourself means making enemies. But if I had to do it again? Yeah, I probably would. Still not sure how I feel about that. But at least, I can finally sleep.